fantasy live show presented by DraftKings. What's up, Guy? How's it going?
Not much. How you doing, man? I think you started a little bit earlier there. Welcome in, everybody. We're here in in Technicolor, Dolby Surround Sound, Panavision, coming to you from the comfort of our own homes, our humble abodes, if you will. Henry's slightly more humble than mine. How you doing, man? Hey.
I was doing fine until you started taking shots at me like that. I had a pretty good day.
These blank white walls behind you, man.
Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is, the app that I used to use for my camera doesn't work, and I'm not going to rehang everything for the angle of where my camera has to be now. But yeah, it's been like a good day. I woke up. Cool. I had only drank half of my, what is it? It's a pumpkin spice cold brew yesterday. And so I had some of that left, and so I got to wake up and put that in me, so that was pretty cool. Went to the gym, did a whole bunch of work, of course, with the buff stuff. And just ate some ramen. So,
wow,
I'm happy.
That sounds like a banner day for you, Henry.
I know it really doesn't get much better than this. A whole bunch of things happen in fantasy football, and honestly, the fantasy football week isn't over yet, and that's kind of crazy. But the Steelers-Ravens game is still supposed to happen at some point.
For those of you who are wondering, all the various websites, Yahoo, Flea Flicker, ESPN, they all release notices saying that the game that is played tomorrow, those points will count towards Week 12, which is the fantasy week that just happened. So yeah, if it does get played, because there is no guarantee at this point that it will get played, but if it does, it will count for Week 12 and not for Week 13, which is technically the next week, even though it's happening, after our normal start of waivers, which... as far as I know, all of the sites are now changing their waivers to go 24 hours later, which will be, 6 a.m. on Thursday morning, something like that. So you have until after the game tomorrow night to process waivers. So don't feel rushed. Don't feel like you have to, put waivers in before you see this next game. And don't worry that, maybe you'll get double points for a guy on the Steelers or something like that. Everything will be continuing as normal, just 24 hours offset.
Double points would be nice though, because I need. I think I need 69 points exactly out of Chase Claypool and Chris Boswell. Was it? I think it was 69 on the dot is what I need. Nice. Yep, that's that team that's terrible. That's non-PPR also. I should throw out there.
Which one? Aren't all your teams terrible?
No.
You have to specify which terrible team.
No, there's only one that has a losing record. The rest are hovering around 500. But yeah, it was another just really tough week. I just want to go through some of these scores. I started Jared Goff. Thought maybe that'd be all right. Nope. 3 points. Miles Sanders got me 4. Mike Davis is my best performer of the week with 7.9. Turns out Michael Thomas, trash. Cooper Kupp, trash. So yeah, it's been another long fantasy week for me. But we get to start things off by going through our winner's lap and flexing on some of the smart things that we said last week. And I'll start by talking about Antonio Gibson, because he is really good. And I've been saying for a couple of weeks now that this is finally the time. And last week, I think I had him on my start list on the tailgate. He went off. I think he was a top 3 fantasy performer this week. And I think that that's just what he is going forward. Guy, your turn.
Yeah, I had all of Antonio Gibson, Will Fuller, and Deshaun Watson on my start list, so I'm looking pretty good this week, man.
Yeah.
No, but for real, David Montgomery, I know you guys have been trashing on David Montgomery nearly all season.
Because he isn't good.
Yeah, except for this week when he put up 103 on the ground. He caught 5 passes and he had a touchdown, so I'm sorry, but David Montgomery had a great week, so I will take that winner's lap, and I will have you guys eating crow for that one. The thing is, I think at this point we can really game plan against Green Bay giving up, hemorrhaging, really, rushing points to nearly anybody they face. So
yeah, I think so. Green Bay's just in a weird place. They are very good, but if they play a good team, they're going to lose. And I think that more than anything, that's the takeaway. If
they play a good team and lose?
That's what happens.
Kind of makes them all right, doesn't it?
Well, they are going to, but no, because they look so good when they play anybody else. If they play a non-playoff team, they're going to win by 3 scores. But if they play a playoff team,
That's my point, Henry.
To be
To be quote very good, don't you have to beat playoff teams?
Well, I mean, it just depends on the
Wow.
people think that they're like high and low and all that kind of stuff. But no, it's just that they're good against good teams, and they are not. Or no, they're good against bad teams, not good against good teams. But let's move on to our eating crow, because that is important too. Mine is going to be Jared Goff. I thought that he was like a sneaky good pickup. He's been one of those guys who it seems like every other week, it's a week where you should be claiming him and playing him, which is what I did. As I said, he got me 3 points. He was not good. Just really disappointing. Also, Cooper Kupp. I was really high on Cooper Kupp. This is kind of the same thing because they're on the same team doing the same things, but I missed there as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame that Andre isn't here today, or else he could really shove this one in my face. But Justin Herbert did not have a good week this week, despite how well Austin Eckler played, catching all those passes and really shouldering a lot of the workload. Justin Herbert had his first real dud of a week, and this is after a string of about 6 weeks where he was top 10, usually top 5 in fantasy.
And he won a game.
I was gonna say
in that stretch.
The thing is, they won the game, but his fantasy point total was low, so he actually looked better, via the eye test, quote unquote. It's just that his performance didn't turn out fantasy points. But I guess I still have to eat it for this one, and I'm sure Dre will appreciate that I am, feeding myself the crow, and he doesn't have to, spoon feed it to me.
Yeah, he'll be back soon though, and I'm sure when he comes back, he'll have plenty to say about that.
Does he ever not have plenty to say?
No. Let's jump into some buy or sell now, because there were some interesting fantasy performances, and I think that we should start with Deebo Samuel, who was very good this week. I'm trying to pull up the number now, but he was one of the top fantasy performers at wide receiver he was 14th, 13 points. And that's an offense that really hasn't had many fantasy options. It's his first week back after missing 3 games. Are you ready to buy in there?
This is tough because the Rams have a good defense. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Nick Mullins having a good game against them. I mean, I have to assume, because I don't really look too far into these things, but I have to assume most of the money was on the Rams to win that game, yes?
Mine was.
The 49ers pulling that out was pretty incredible. The Rams have been able to limit wide receivers pretty consistently, so Deebo breaking out against them is a surprise. Their schedule coming up, Buffalo, obviously that'll be a test, but they just had a test, so it's kind of hard to gauge on that. And then Washington, Dallas, and Arizona. So those last 3 games will take you through the playoffs. Arizona is a very good matchup, but that doesn't come until championship week. Washington is kind of mediocre. Dallas is a good one. So there are some favorable matchups coming up for him, but the next 2 will be a little bit questionable. However, the team he just played against, that was a tough matchup, and he still did well. So personally, if you're asking me, my own opinion, I would chalk this up to divisional play and say that the 49ers, going up against a divisional opponent gives you that extra edge. But once you go to division, you have to play Buffalo, Washington, Dallas. Maybe against Dallas he'll have a good game, but I think Buffalo, Washington will be tough games for him. And not just for him, but also for Nick Mullins, because that pass rush on both teams actually very good, and I expect them to put a lot of pressure on him. So I'm not buying it personally, even though the evidence that he just gave us is very credible evidence. My gut feeling is that I'm going to chalk it up to divisional play.
I'm going to buy in. I think that if he can catch 11 balls, go for 133 yards with Nick Mullins at quarterback, there are good things in his future. I'm not sure that I would be playing him, but I do think he's worthy of a roster spot, and there's a decent chance that once you get into these last couple weeks of the playoffs, he has gotten hot and you want to be putting him in. Next guy I want to talk about, Robbie Anderson. He was the receiver 11 this week, 15.4 points. That's standard. It switched from half point. But what do you think? Buy or sell?
I am fully buying in, and the reason why I'm buying in, I don't know if you saw this, DJ Moore had to get carried off the field with a non-contact ankle injury. So that is opening up a ton more volume for him, and not just him, but also for Curtis Samuel, who I know isn't part of this equation, but still, Robbie Anderson. I mean, he was a top 10 quarterback for most of the season until the past couple of weeks, but now with DJ Moore out of the picture, this just opens up a whole new part of that target share pie, if you will, for him to eat off of. So I see no reason to doubt him. He's already produced this season, and he's just getting more targets. So easy one for me.
I'm going to go the opposite way again. I think that there's so many receivers out there. I think that this is kind of a blip. He had struggled
his whole season.
He struggled for the last 6 weeks. Okay. He's been solid, but he hasn't been like what he was at the start. Like week 5, he was like wide receiver number 5, and he's just slowly fallen. And yeah, he had like a good game against Minnesota, and I think the opportunities are there. I don't trust. I will say, like, if your options, that's a tough one. We'll get into the would you rathers later, but we'll just do a quick one. Deebo Samuel, Robbie Anderson, who you want the rest of the way?
Robbie Anderson, easy. And if you want to bet on that, we can. And I also, I would say we need to double down on that and talk about Robbie Anderson rest of season, rest of schedule, whatever. Mm-hmm. I would say he's top 15.
Top 15, Robbie Anderson? Okay, I'll take that. I'll say he's not.
Okay, and I say he will. All right.
Awesome. Let's see. Next one was David Montgomery, buy or sell?
I'm buying, man. I know that you guys have really been on this train pretty much all season, doubting him. But I've been waiting for something like this, and he really, when we talk about, I mean, we'll probably get into James Robinson a little bit later, but James Robinson is, I mean, he's having a great season, but on top of that, the volume he's getting is unprecedented. David Montgomery is probably the only other running back that's coming close to that in volume. He really has no competition in that backfield. The next 4 games that he has, Detroit, Houston, Minnesota, Jacksonville, those are all fantastic matchups. I think one of the big things that was holding him back this season was offensive line play, and from what I've read, the Bears are switching up their whole offensive line scheme, and it seems to be working for them. They didn't win that game, but they looked a lot more impressive, especially running the ball. And I think with that favorable schedule coming up, and them still being, it's been a tough couple of weeks for them, and it kind of looks like they're on the outer edge of the playoffs, but they still have a chance. I think that they kind of see, I mean, obviously there's Allen Robinson there as well, but they know that running the ball and controlling the clock and giving their defense a chance to help win the game is their best success, or their best chance of success. So I think running the ball is going to figure more into their offensive game plan moving forward, and I don't think that David Montgomery has been getting the respect that he deserves.
I'm gonna go the. It's a tough one.
Go the opposite. Please go the opposite.
It's a tough one. Like the only thing that I really like
Henry,
about
I know you're a hungry guy, and I got to feed you some crow in the weeks upcoming. So go the opposite way, please do.
Like the only thing that I like is the schedule. Like the schedule looks really nice. The problem is he just isn't a good running back.
What about
and that's what scares.
He did look better, man. He looks better.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't.
He's
see
getting
much
when he gets more. Okay, you didn't watch. That's the problem. He's getting more space with the offensive line being switched up. He's getting more space. He's getting more time to work, and he looks better. I'm just saying that. And he's getting volume, and his schedule looks better. I don't see any reason to doubt him personally. I mean, I'm not going to tell you he's going to be Dalvin Cook getting you like 30, 40 points a game, but I'm saying that going into the playoffs, when you have consistent volume like that and no real threat to take away workload, the only real concern there would be injury/COVID. But I mean, the Bears haven't had any scares with that yet. I mean, obviously, knock on wood for that. And David Montgomery, to my knowledge, hasn't really had an issue with injuries in his career. So I see no reason to doubt him moving into the playoffs. I mean, there's so much uncertainty at the running back position with different guys getting injured and kind of disappearing, like your Josh Jacobs. He didn't show up the last 2 weeks, and now he's injured. So now you've got to scramble to, fix that. David Montgomery has been a rock, and if you can put him in as your RB2, God forbid you even if you had to do it as an RB1, he's a very consistent option for your fantasy team, I think, going into the playoffs.
Yeah, if you're just looking for somebody who can get you 10 points without much upside, I feel like that's the role that he fits. but he just, I mean,
Without much upside? What are you talking about? He just got
what am I talking
25.3, Henry.
about?
I'm looking at it right now. Without much upside, 25.3 isn't much upside on 10
What I'm
points. Is that what you're
saying is
saying?
he's had 60 rushing yards 3 times this season. 60 rushing yards while he's consistently getting like 15, 16 carries. Like he has not been good. He has
Yeah,
one
that's also
rushing touchdown all season. What's been
Henry, that's
saving him
also
is
been
catching some
because
balls
of
with
the
Tyreek
offensive
Cohen
line
out.
play. I'm
I
just
don't
telling
think
you.
it's getting any better. That they don't have any talent there.
Did you watch? Did you watch the game?
I didn't watch them play this week, but I can see that he had one 57-yard run, and if it weren't for that, he would have been back down there in the 50s again. Previous longest run this season's 38. And I think
Henry,
there's only one other that was
Henry,
over
without
20.
that 57-yard run, he still would have had 20 points.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because he caught a touchdown. And like he caught 5 balls, and that is where the value is. It's from getting those catches. He's going to pick up, like, as a running back, you can't expect more than 6 points from him. And even expecting 5,
He
like,
just got 25.3, Henry.
oh, but I mean, like,
His
from the
last-
rushing game. Oh yeah, no, I can see that he did that last week, but seriously, like, he had 3.7 in his game before that. Like, and on more carries too. I think that it's tough to not play a running back who is a starter this season just because all the backfields are so split up. But I just don't think there's much upside. I mean,
Tyreek Cohen's not coming back, man. He's out for the rest of the season.
yeah, but
There's
he's been
nobody
gone
else
for a while
threatening.
now.
I
The
know, I'm
numbers
just
are
saying,
what
there's
they
nobody
are.
threatening for touches, and there's a good schedule. I've already said my piece. I'm buying. You're
Yeah, you
selling.
have.
What's a bet we can make for this?
Um,
I say let's go with the point average for the rest of the season. Over under 12, and I'll say he averages more than 12 points a game.
ooh, that's a good place to set it.
Come on,
Yeah,
Henry.
he's under that.
You're saying 10, so 10 is under 12,
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, like, he's going to get you 10 every week. I'll say it's under 12.
right?
Sure.
So that's the average under 10, under 12. Then that's what I'm saying.
All right.
You're
All
saying
right.
an average of
Half-point
10,
PPR.
basically, with that statement. Half point PPR. That's the way we do everything.
I know, but we just got to clarify on this one. All right. Next one up is Antonio Gibson. Are we all the way bought in there?
If you're not bought in, you're not watching football, man. He looks fantastic. Every single week, they're giving him more and more opportunities. He's catching the ball. He's running the ball. He's getting red zone looks. If you're not bought in, you're not watching football. That's an easy one.
Yep. Totally agree. He was running back 2 last week. He's been pretty consistently up there. Is this 3 straight weeks that he's up there? Yeah, he's the number 1 running back in the league in terms of points per game over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's more than Dalvin Cook, which everyone was just
and
going
everybody
crazy
else
over Dalvin Cook.
Yeah,
I know, but we also have to say the big names too. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm just saying if you're not watching, then you don't know. But yeah, this is a guy that we've been talking about him for a while. Obviously, like you said with your winners lap segment, I think you, me, Andre, we've all been talking about him for a while now. This is one that if you're able to buy low earlier in the season, which I was trying and was unsuccessful, then yeah, you got a good one going into the playoffs here. Especially since that division is somehow still up for grabs. So they have everything to play for. Usually with a team like that, with a record that they have, you'd be worried about, well, they don't have much to play for. They're going to game plan them out. They're going to be down in a lot of games. Nope, that's not the case. They're still in the hunt for the playoffs. So they have everything to play for and every reason to keep leaning on the guy that's producing for them. So I see no reason why he shouldn't be at least like a top 10, maybe even top 5 running back rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. What about Wayne Gallman?
I'm bought in. Daniel Jones, he just got an ankle injury, and Colt McCoy did not look good. So I think that their best option is to be running the ball and taking it away from Colt McCoy. I mean, obviously later in games, they're going to probably be in situations where they have to throw a little bit more, but he's still catching passes out of the backfield, which is good. And, I mean, that defense is still, decent. I think that's a defense that a lot of people slept on earlier in the season, but now we see guys like Bradbury who are really good in the secondary. They're able to keep games close, so he's never getting fully game scripted out. And, I mean, he's passing the eye test as well. I know that in years past, he's been, that waiver wire pickup when one of the running backs gets hurt for the Giants, even before Saquon Barkley got there. And And I remember him being kind of up and down. But now all of a sudden, this looks like a different Wayne Gallman. He actually looks good on the field. He looks like he's part of the game plan. And with Daniel Jones out, I think that he figures to be even more the game plan moving forward. So I'm bought in, man.
Yeah, me too. I think you see Daniel Jones as being like a good thing for him. I'm pretty skeptical. I really
stack the box a little bit more.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that he would even have a shot in that case. But he has been productive enough. Over the last 3 weeks, he's been the 7th rated running back in points per game.
Productive enough.
Yeah, like that's good enough for me to say you got to start him, even if he's going to fall off to like 10 or 12, because this is the best we've seen out of him, and expecting him to be at his best, it's a dangerous game. Having the offense change with the quarterback out, don't love that either. But even if he does fall off into that like 12th running back range, that's still somebody you want to have this season.
I mean, what are the options outside of that?
Oh yeah, there's none. One more quick one before we get out of here. Carson Wentz, quarterback 7 this week. You buying in?
I haven't bought in on Carson Wentz since like week 2, so I think you already know where I stand on this.
Yeah.
I hope Allie doesn't hold this against me, but Carson Wentz is I don't know. I think his career might be coming to an end here. Jalen Hurts is getting more reps with the first team, which obviously doesn't automatically mean he's taking the job, but at the same time, I think that Carson Wentz, he's auditioning for his job at this point. And they might go and draft someone. They might give the job to Hurts. I don't know what else they would do, but he does not look good out there. And every time he's had a very favorable matchup, he hasn't really been able to deliver on that. I mean, he's had like occasional moments, but I don't see him showing up in big moments anymore.
Yeah. I agree. Before we get into our next game we want to play, a Would You Rather game, I want to tell you guys just a little bit more about DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings is the place to go for all of your betting needs. They're really great for a lot of different reasons. And I've had a great time betting this last couple of weeks with college basketball back. I made some money on Texas this morning.
The Buffs.
Made some money on USC this morning. Yeah, I've got put together my top 25.
Dude, the Buffs only got 1 vote. What is that, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's so tough. Like, do you knock UCLA all the way behind them because they lost?
Man.
Like, do you? I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. Like, Stanford looks like they belong in the top 10, and they weren't even ranked. I think they're going to beat North Carolina right now. USC with the Mobley kid, like there's just so much good young talent. Like all these freshmen have looked so good in the Pac-12. It's gonna be a challenge, but I do think the Buffs belong.
The odds on DraftKings are probably pretty good for them to take the Pac-12, huh?
They certainly are, and I haven't jumped at that yet, but I am tempted. Also, those Stanford National Championship odds, I'm kind of liking that too. But yeah, it's been so much fun having college basketball going, especially at the same time with college football. Usually we don't get this much of a crossover, but it's every day there's college sports going on. And then there's all the pro stuff too. The NBA is going to be back soon. The NFL obviously is happening. It is a great time to be enjoying DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of DNVR. For us fans, college basketball powers that have gifted us with the top-tier matchup between two powerhouses. This weekend, Gonzaga and Baylor will be going toe-to-toe for what could be the nation's top ranking. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is bringing you closer to the action with some awesome can't-miss offers. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code DNVR when you sign up, and you can turn $1 into $100 when you bet on either Gonzaga or Baylor to win that game. That's right, $1 to turn into $100. Use promo code DNVR during sign-up to take advantage of these great offers for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. And I should say, if you're jumping in, you're a new user, you're taking this deal, put that money on Gonzaga. Do not mess around with Baylor. Gonzaga is the best team in the country, and it is not close right now. All right. Would you rather? These are going to be some fun ones. And let's start with this one. Antonio Gibson or Nick Chubb?
Ooh.
Hoo.
Oh, man. Off the top of my head, I would probably say Nick Chubb just because he's a little more proven, but I want to see their schedules real quick, so let me look that up. What would you take?
I like Gibson. I think that there's just a lot of things that are working in his favor. He's hot right now. I think that it's a lot easier for me to trust somebody getting hot this time of year and expecting it to continue when they are a rookie. And this was kind of one of the things that we were saying all season is, no, you can hold on to Antonio Gibson. Just wait. Eventually his time will come and he's going to be ready to be the guy. And because that's what I kind of expected all season, seeing him do it just makes me think that these numbers that he's putting up are going to be sustainable. And I am confident that he's a top 5 running back the rest of the way. And at the very least, he should be in the top 10 just because of his talent and the opportunities he's going to be given. Nick Chubb, I feel really good about him as well. The split backfield is the deciding factor for me.
Yeah, I can see that, but he's also produced all season long, so even with Kareem Hunt there, I think that Nick Chubb just has a longer track record, and I'm more likely to take a guy who's proven it. Not that I doubt Antonio Gibson necessarily, but he's just a little bit more green, raw, whatever you want to call it, flash in the pan. Yes, I do think that he's going to continue to produce, but I think that Nick Chubb has given us a little more proof that he can do that. And, the schedules are pretty comparable coming up. For Nick Chubb, it's at Pittsburgh, at San Francisco, and then at home for Seattle and Carolina to finish out the fantasy playoffs as they are. And then, that was for Antonio Gibson. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's for Antonio Gibson. So having Pittsburgh next week is a bit of a tough test for them. But after that, things get easier. Considerably easier with Seattle in the mix there. San Francisco, they have a decent defense. It's kind of middle of the road. I think that for both teams, it's in the interest of them to keep, the game running pretty quickly and control the ball. So I don't see a ton of opportunity there. But it should be decent enough. For Nick Chubb, at Tennessee, home against Baltimore, and then at the Giants and at the Jets. So really the toughest test there. Obviously Baltimore, but they get them at home. Playoffs on the line for both teams. I think they're almost like dead even in the standings right now for the AFC North. Is that correct? I think they're both right about 7-4-ish.
Yeah.
I'll have to double check that.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure what the Ravens game would do, but yeah.
Yeah, but Tennessee obviously gives up a lot of points to their defense. Giants, while they do have a good secondary, they can give up some points on the ground. And then obviously the Jets are an easy matchup as well. So schedule's pretty comparable, but I would say Nick Chubb with the longer history. I would trust that a little bit more, not to doubt Antonio Gibson, because we obviously did, talk about him a fair amount and how much we believe in him. I just think that if I was a betting man and I had to only choose one, I would choose Nick Chubb.
Huh. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong either way. But I think there is a chance you could go wrong in the next one. Wayne Gallman or James Robinson?
Oh, my God. I've doubted James Robinson at various points in the season, and I've been proven wrong. So
yeah,
I think I have to learn from that
and
give it to James Robinson, especially because, there was a stat that came out that was something like of the Jags rushing attempts, James Robinson has taken like 193, and all other Jags running backs combined have taken 7. That's a ludicrous amount of volume. And I'm the person who has been championing volume for running backs all season long. So I have to take James Robinson in this. Again, not to doubt Wayne Gallman, but even though James Robinson is playing on what looks like a franchise in peril, he's just getting so much opportunity, and he looks so good with the ball too. Gotta stick with him. No matter what happens at quarterback, even with Luton coming in there, and now they're down to Mike Glennon? Or is it Josh McCown? I can't even remember at this point. And they started the season with Gardner Minshew. That was always the concern, was like, quarterback play is dipping off. Oh, now they switched to Luton. No, now they switched to Glennon. There were all these reasons to doubt James Robinson, and maybe he's had a down week here or there. but he's still continued to produce, and he's still getting the ball so much that you can't really bet against him at this point.
Yeah, totally. I mean, because he is an undrafted rookie, and maybe this is fair, people have tried to move on at any chance they could get, but like he's been so good. He's been the fourth best running back in the NFL in terms of fantasy production.
Imagine in like week 5, you have James Robinson and someone offers you Zeke Elliott for James Robinson.
Yeah.
You take that trade, wouldn't you?
I think you would have, yeah, definitely. But you would have been wrong.
Whoa! Yeah, I know.
But, yeah, James Robinson, he's hit double digits in 5 of his last 6 games. The one where he didn't, he had 9.4. 2 of those games were in the 20s. It felt like there was a little bit of a dip, and there was a little bit of a dip for like this 3-week stretch where he only averaged like 8 points. But he has been very good and more consistent than I think people give him credit for. And Wayne Gallman is still a bit of a gamble because he plays for the Giants.
And we aren't really sure what's going to happen now that Daniel Jones is out and Colt McCoy's in. So, I mean, we've seen James Robinson go through quarterback changes and it hasn't stopped him. So there's less uncertainty with him than there is Gallman.
Yeah. A.J. Brown or Justin Jefferson?
Ooh. Oh, man. That's a really good one. I want to say Justin Jefferson. I know that he's a rookie, and that kind of goes against some of the other points that I've made on previous guys. But he's just looked so impressive with the ball. Adam Thielen, I believe, will be out for one more week because of his COVID test. So Justin Jefferson is still going to see kind of what you would term an obscene amount of volume. And he's produced every time he's been given the opportunity. And I think that, obviously the Vikings, they showed that video of them, like when the Eagles took Jalen Reagor instead of Justin Jefferson. They were like thrilled that he fell into their lap. They love the dude. They have everything. Basically, their whole future is planned around him. So there's no reason that they, would game plan away from him. A.J. Brown, obviously, still a fantastic talent. He's super entertaining to watch. He's had tough matchups, and he's still produced even through those. But I think that Ryan Tannehill is starting to look a little iffier, and I think that they're leaning on the run a little bit more with Derrick Henry because Derrick Henry is like borderline unstoppable. So as good as A.J. Brown is, I think that the game plan includes a little less of him these days, whereas Justin Jefferson is being relied on a little bit more. So I would say Justin Jefferson, even in spite of A.J. Brown having a better track record in the past.
Yeah, it's a really tough call. And you can look at like A.J. Brown in the 8 weeks since he's come back from injury. He has 8 touchdowns. And you could say like, well, there's going to be touchdown regression. Or you could say, look at the man. That is the best red zone threat in the league, potentially. He's at least like in that conversation.
It is really like the way he's getting those touchdowns too are like he's creating those. It's not like he's just getting gifted touchdowns. He's getting lucky in any way. Like, no, he's creating those. He's that good that he makes those opportunities for himself.
Yeah, he's really good. But I do think that it's Justin Jefferson. Even though
Henry, we finally agree on some things, man. I like this. It's nice to agree.
Yeah, I do think it's Justin Jefferson. He's just playing well with Thielen out. It's been working. Let me get back to this notes page. There we go. Here's another one, kind of building off that same idea. Ryan Tannehill or Kirk Cousins?
Oh, man. I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins here, even though I don't like it. And my reason behind this is that, like I just said, Tannehill, he's been falling off a bit, so they're leaning more on the run game. The run game with Derrick Henry involves him just bowling people over and not really any form of, throwing him the ball. Whereas with Dalvin Cook, yes, he can run between the tackles, but he's also featured a decent amount in the passing game as well with dump-offs. And when you have that added to everything else, I would say Kirk Cousins, but I'm not excited about it.
Not being excited about it. That's where we agree. I think I'll go Ryan Tannehill.
You going
Thielen
Tannehill? All right.
Thielen should be back next week, but having like that 1 week without him scares me a little bit. And then I just think that the Titans have enough weapons to make some plays, and Tannehill, his stat line might be more like 13 of 17, but for like 240 yards because they are because defenses are in the box. Like there is going to be space back behind them, and I do think that they're going to start committing to that running game even more because that's going to be the formula for the playoffs. It's feed Derrick Henry 30 times a game, maybe even more than that. And I'm actually kind of curious what Derrick Henry's touches look like throughout the season because this is something that I've been talking about. I guess not like consistently, but it is something that I brought up in some of the earlier shows that you expect him to be getting more and more volume as you progress.
He's just had the same amount of volume all the way through. I mean, he started off with 31, 25, 26, and then they had their bye, and then 19, 22, 20, 18, 21, 19, 28, 27. So, I mean, it is going up slightly. There was like a little bit of a dip in the middle, but he also started off with a ridiculous number of carries. So, yeah. Man, Derrick Henry
I wonder if that was by design.
I don't think so. I mean, he's still like against Houston in Week 6. He still had a monster game. I mean, do you think that they're getting that like big brained where they're like, yeah, in the middle of the season we'll start to like wean him off some carries and then we'll bring it back later. I think they're just trying to win games, man. They were just doing what was winning them games. So if they were down, they had to pass the ball more. If they were up, then they run the ball more. I mean, I think that's just a product of the way that their games have gone. But either way, I mean, we also saw in the playoffs last year that Henry was a huge part of that. So I think that they know going down the stretch, and like what would you consider crunch time here, they're going to lean on him a lot more. So, I mean, Tannehill, you almost nailed his stat line from last week when you said 13 to 17. He was 13 to 22 for 221. Yeah, you almost hit it right on the head there. But regardless, I mean, it's, he's not really turning the ball over that much. He's had an interception here or there, but he's being asked to be more of a game manager. But that also means that his ceiling is pretty hard capped there too. So you can't really expect any. I would say like 20 is his ceiling really. Like last week it was like 19.5. The week before that was like 20.8. So he's hitting right around that 20 mark. But then before that he was having like 10-point, 14-point games as well. So his ceiling really is like right around 20. I mean, if you are playing him, it's kind of because you don't really have any other options, but I wouldn't expect him to be like, that groundbreaking, like world beater type, especially because he doesn't really have any rushing ability either that you're going to get from a lot of other quarterbacks. Just looking at Kirk Cousins, his last 4 games, 20.8, 17.58, 22.96, 26.18. So he definitely has a higher ceiling, and he's been more impressive in the last weeks. And I think that they've sort of they're on the trending up in terms of like their offensive production and the pace of play and everything else as well. So he has a chance for more fantasy opportunity, especially considering their defense. Well, not that the Titans' defense is good either, but their defense is like a bottom 3 right there. I think it's bottom 2 right after Seattle. It would be them, Seattle, and then I guess Atlanta has improved lately, but they were still down there in the basement with them. So I think there's just more opportunity for Kirk Cousins personally.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's if you're in this situation, then you're probably not going to be winning anyway.
Also, just to take a look at schedules real quick. Oh man, I just looked at this for Minnesota. So they play at home against Jacksonville next week. That's like a streaming that could be a really smart stream for next week.
Even without Thielen?
Yeah, I still think so. I mean, without Thielen last week, 26.18.
Yeah.
So Justin Jefferson has been a machine out there, and like I said, Dalvin Cook, he's still catching the ball. So Kirk Cousins is siphoning some points from that as well. But that also could be one of those games they get up early and then they just hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook. So I still think it's a decent streaming option. But after that, at Tampa Bay, which they've been able to limit a lot of quarterbacks lately, even though I guess Mahomes last week, it's Mahomes, so you can't really count that against them. And then before that, Goff, which Goff hasn't looked very good. Before that, Breeze looked fantastic, but he's also a Hall of Famer. So they've kind of been up and down, even though they start off the season as a fantastic defense. After that, though, Chicago and at New Orleans. Those are two much better defenses. So New Orleans kind of gone under the radar as a very good defense. Chicago, obviously, we've known all about them for the whole season. So rolling into the real meat of the playoffs, Kirk Cousins isn't going to be that good of an option. But next week against Jacksonville and potentially against Tampa Bay, those could be two good matchups for you if you want to stream him.
All right. Let's see. Next up is Chase Claypool or Brandon Cooks.
Oh man, you're picking some good ones, Henry.
Yeah, I know.
Props for
It
these.
Usually sucks.
Dude, I love just dig that one in there so he can't defend himself.
We don't have much time left without him.
Yeah, I know. So you got to get it in while you can. I love watching Chase Claypool, but his competition for touches is definitely steeper. I need to look up Juju Smith-Schuster's injury because he limped off the field in their last game, which was over a week ago. Obviously, we have yet to see what happens in this game, which will be tomorrow night, if that even happens. I mean, I'm still doubtful that game's even going to happen the way things have been going, but it looks like the league is really just trying to just force this one through there by hook or by crook, as they say. But Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool, it's a crowded wide receiver core there. As much as I love his talent and ability, and he still does have opportunities, he's not bad necessarily. Brandon Cooks, now that Will Fuller has been suspended for I think 6 games with multiplying what is it? It's just the performance enhancing drugs. They have like a distinction that they make there between them though, but I guess they say it is performance enhancing. But now that he's violated that policy, he's out for the rest of the fantasy season. Brandon Cooks is, and Kenny Still is left on what they called a mutual separation with the team. That's all Brandon Cooks show now there. So the only thing that can stop Brandon Cooks necessarily is an injury, which obviously he's been prone to those in the past. But I would still rather bet on his volume because that volume is going to be pretty ludicrous. And Deshaun Watson, now that Bill O'Brien's gone, Deshaun Watson has looked a lot better. So with him being a threat on his feet, I think that opens up more opportunities for Brandon Cooks downfield. So, again, very good choice here. I don't think you can really go wrong with either one, but I would give the slight edge to Brandon Cooks just because of the volume that he's going to be getting. Yeah. But you do have to be aware of the injury situation and everything else. So.
I'll go the other way.
Okay.
I like Chase Claypool. He's a touchdown scorer. That, to me, in the fantasy playoffs is very valuable. Plus, you go back through and in the last... So he had his breakout game was week 5 against the Eagles. 7 catches, 110 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Ran fourth when it was called back on a holding too.
And he ran in another touchdown, and so he had 39 points. Well, since then, he's only had 1 week where he wasn't in double digits, and it was like a total dud of a performance, like 1 catch and he lost yards. Yep. But outside of that, he's been so good and so consistent. Even if there is competition, I just think that he is too good of an offensive weapon for them to be trying to work him out at all. And so I'll take Claypool in this one.
Cool. Again, it's a little bit of a Sophie's choice there, so it's you can't really go wrong here.
Yeah. Let's hit a couple of these questions before we get out of here. What's good, fellas? Guy, what's good?
Not the Broncos. I'll tell you that much.
Oh,
what's
wow.
good? The Buffs.
Nice.
Both Buffs
that
teams
is
are good.
Very true. Last week I traded Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs for DeAndre Hopkins and Aaron Jones. I don't think either side won. That is definitely right.
No, it's not.
You don't think so?
Josh Jacobs just went down with an injury, and he had 2 back-to-back dead weeks.
Yeah, but didn't...
If that's
didn't
Josh
Hopkins
Jacobs, it's there.
I think they all flopped this week, didn't they?
Still, Josh Jacobs is hurt, whereas the other 3 are
that is
not.
True.
Going
forward,
Josh Jacobs isn't even going to be rostered going forward, so I think that the Hopkins and Aaron Jones side definitely won that, even though, again, they all kind of had down weeks with that injury. I would say Jacobs is
Yeah.
He's not what you want going to the playoffs.
Yeah. I'm down a point with Deontay and going against Steelers D. What do you do in this situation, Guy? Are you tempted to not play that defense? Because these are the situations where the risk of having like a -3, -4 from the defense just seems to outweigh like you just need one catch from Deontay.
Yeah, it's 1 point though.
Mm-hmm.
Deontay Johnson's going to get you more than 1 point.
Yep.
So you need points. The thing is, if I'm the guy with the Steelers D, which is the guy going against our commenter here.
Going against, I thought he had both. There we go.
No, he's going against the Steelers D. But also, the thing is, I mean, I don't know if that game's going to happen, man.
Yeah.
I think if you're playing ISO only, because ISO, man, you're praying for that game to just not happen, which I think there's a good chance it could.
I know. That probably is the scariest. But Deontay should be out. Who knows? That defense could put up points. That's going to be a fun one. Carson, Chubb, McCaffrey, and Robinson. Who is out?
I would say Carson.
You would?
This is a really good set of running backs. McCaffrey, I mean, we still have to see how he's going to come back from his injury, but he came back from his previous injury and dropped like a 35-point game. So, I mean, it's Christian McCaffrey. You have no reason to doubt him. Nick Chubb has just been a house on fire lately. And then we already talked about James Robinson and his insane amount of volume. I would say Chris Carson, especially considering he's had multiple injuries and he's had trouble getting back from every single one of those this season.
Yeah.
And I also think that offense, I mean, while he is still part of it, they throw the ball so much that I think that Chris Carson has a higher chance of getting games scripted out of any of these three running backs. Whereas Stefanski just absolutely loves the run. Robinson has never not gotten the ball, and Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey, man. That team revolves around him. So when he's back on the field, like, he is the offense.
I don't think you can take Chris Carson out. Because he just the numbers. So week 1, half-point PPR, 21.6, 18.3, 9.1, 23.5, 16.9, and then the next week he got hurt. He came back this week and put up 12.9. He is just such an important piece of that offense. Like, he is getting... he is going to be getting all of the work at running back. They aren't going to rotate those other guys in. I'm pretty confident. And then you look, and you don't like playing the Rams in the championship week, but Giants,
there's the risk of re-injury, man.
Yeah, Giants, Jets, Washington on the way there. But see, the thing is, I don't think you could justify taking Chubb out, and that's who'd be next. If you're in this situation, you are going to win your league. Let's just say that. Maybe you do take Carson out.
That's what I'm saying. He's still good. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying all the other guys, I think they have so much more consistency, and they have higher upsides as well.
But like, Carson's been consistent except for the 5-week stretch that he missed with injury.
I'm just saying. He also came into the season with injury problems too. So his risk of re-injury is higher than any of these other guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
Chubb put up points when the guy's injured, so
I don't know. I think it's Carson over Chubb. I do. Looking through these numbers, like looking through the time missed, looking through like the consistency around the field, it's. I mean, you're splitting hairs. It's a roll of the dice either way.
Half-point PPR, total points, rest of schedule. Carson, Chubb, take that bet. You'll take Carson, I'll take Chubb.
I mean, I think it's a toss-up. So giving you what you want makes me think I might be wrong. But yeah, sure. I'll take the other side of your bet.
I am just in your head, aren't I?
Yeah, it's your favorite place to be. That's going to do it for today, though. We're going to stop Guy from talking to me. As is always the case, we'll be back in the next couple of days with a audio-only podcast. And that's where we're going to get through all of the questions. So if you're a DNVR member, make sure that you get into the Discord and leave your questions in there. You can also leave them on the post for this show at thednvr.com. We'll get to all those later in the week. And also, if you're watching this, give it a like on YouTube, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We really appreciate that. That's going to do it for today. We'll be back in your ears in a couple of days. We'll see you then.